Okay. So we're next. Okay, go ahead. Ms. Demoff, please.
Thank you, Chair. And just before I get to my questions with the witnesses, I just wanted to read a notice of motion that I submitted, and when I'm finished, I'm going to ask for unanimous consent to deal with it today. That pursuant to Standing Order 1082, and given recent charges by the United States Department of Justice against RT, the Russian state media broadcaster, in a scheme to funnel $10 million to a media organization in North America, and that Canadian companies and individuals have been found to be connected to this Russian propaganda effort, the committee invite the following witnesses to testify for no less than 2 hours on their participation in the Russian-backed interference and far-right disinformation campaigns intended to manipulate the Canadian public. A. Lauren Chen, B. Liam Donovan, C. Lauren Southern. The committee also invite concerned civil society representatives and disinformation experts to further examine the risks of this concerning activity. 1. Marcus Kolga, journalist. 2. Aaron Schull, Managing Director at the Centre for International Governance Innovation. 3. Wesley Wark, Senior Fellow at Centre for International Governance Intervention. Stephanie Carvin, Professor at Carleton University. 5. Thomas Junot, Professor at the University of Ottawa. 6. Shelley Bruce, former Chief of the Communications Security Establishment. 7. Richard Fadden, former Director of CSIS. 8. Guillaume Sirot, representative of the Russian-Canadian Democratic Alliance. 9. Mark Power, representative of the Russian-Canadian Democratic Alliance. And 10. Alexandra Chisidze, President of the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress, that the committee report its findings to the House, and that pursuant to Standing Order 109, that the government table a comprehensive response to the report. Chair, this was submitted to the clerk, but it hasn't been 48 hours, so I wonder if I could have unanimous consent to deal with this now.
Yes. Do we have unanimous consent to deal with this motion at this time?
Yes.
Yes? Very well.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to speak to the motion if I could.
I'm taking that we have unanimous consent to move the motion. So.
Oh, okay.
So moved.
So I will move the motion then, Chair.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No. That's fine, Chair. I'm sorry, I'm just checking my time.
Rappel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
Call to order, Chair.
This is going to take up the rest of our meeting. I wonder if we can release the witnesses at this point. Right? Thank you to all you witnesses for joining us. I know it's a fun place to be in an afternoon, and we will invite you back, I'm pretty sure. So thank you all.
And we have 10 minutes left.
10 minutes? Okay. So we have 10 minutes available for this at this point. So I'm sorry, Mr. Moff, I cut you off, I think.
How much time have I got left, Chair?
It's not limited.
Well,
Okay.
thank you.
So,
Yes, yeah.
thank you, Chair. And I know we don't have a lot of time left, but I did want to speak to this. Russia is known to use right-wing commentators in various countries, particularly in the West, to disseminate disinformation as a part of its broader influence operations. These commentators, often with large followings and credibility among right-wing conservative audience, are used as conduits for spreading pro-Russian narratives or divisive content and applying issues like nationalism, anti-immigrant sentiment, skepticism of mainstream media, and distrust of democratic institutions. Russia seeks to destabilize its adversaries from within and create chaos. This strategy involves seeding disinformation or half-truths that influencers repeat through social media and alt-news platforms. This tactic helps Russia achieve its geopolitical objectives by fostering division, polarization, and undermining confidence in the democratic process. I know I've had concerns about this issue for quite some time and was quite upset when I saw the charges that were laid by the United States on this. you know, it's something that I think all of us need to be looking at, and I'm hoping that we can vote to adopt this motion today. I know we don't have a lot of time left, Chair, so I may finish there so that we can adopt the motion.
Thank you. We'll go now to Mr. Lloyd.
Oh, I'd like to pass my time on. To
Ms. Dancho, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the motion, Ms. Damoff. I do appreciate the witnesses on here. There's some excellent witnesses on here, well selected. What I would say is it's a bit unusual to include a limited list of witnesses, so I would just appreciate if all parties had the opportunity. I know Mr. Lloyd, who is it that you mentioned? We've had him here before. Christian Lupark, we've had him here before. I don't know if the Bloc or the NDP would also like to add witnesses, but just to provide everyone an opportunity to ensure we have a robust list would be great, but otherwise I see no problems, other than it just wasn't mentioned how many meetings. Is that just open-ended, or?
It was intended to be open-ended.
Okay.
Mr. Elbas.
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm not a member of the committee, but I find this very fascinating. What I would suggest is perhaps, there be some time given so that all parties can contribute witnesses, and then maybe the clerk and yourself could come up with, contact to see who is actually interested in coming to speak, at this upcoming study, and then perhaps then the amount of meetings would then take shape, and then you could maybe present it back to the committee.
So the motion is moved as it is. So perhaps an amendment can be made. Mrs. O'Connell. Mr.
On the
McGregor.
speaking list, I have a suggestion to offer, but you're right, you're on the speaking list. Chair, can you add
Thank
one?
you, Chair. I no problems with the motion. There are some people I'd like to add. So, probably I'd seek a very slight amendment that, for the list that it includes but is not limited to, because I would like to see, people like Rachel Curran, who is head of public policy at Meta, Steve DeIyer, Director of Public Policy and Government Affairs for TikTok Canada, Lindsay Doyle, Head of Government Affairs and Policy at YouTube. These are the platforms where a lot of these people have their content on. We know from previous studies at this committee that a lot of these big social media giants are not even addressing their own terms of service. So I'd like to see those folks included. Now, I'm fine with having them listed here, or to give everyone a chance to present their own witnesses, maybe we just include language, includes this list but is not limited to. I'm fine either way.
Would you like to make that amendment? Propose that amendment?
I will include the amendment that, just a very slight amendment in advance of the list of 10 people there, that includes these people but is not limited to them.
Okay. Any discussion on Mr. McGregor's sub-amendment or amendment? None? All in favor of Mr. McGregor's amendment? Opposed? Carried. Okay. We're back to the motion as amended, and we have Ms. Dancho. No, we have Ms. O'Connell.
I'm fine with that amendment now.
Okay, Mr. Albas.
So again, I'm not the one that's probably going to do this study, but would it be, Mr. Chair, that you would then work with the clerk to get committee witnesses, and it would be helpful for all parties to know when they need to submit by, and then perhaps the clerk you can maybe inform the committee how many meetings you think it'll take based on once people have been contacted.
That's generally the way we work anyway, but it's not part of the amendment. It's not part of the motion. Ms. Dancho, please go ahead.
Just since I'm stepping back into it, just as an aside, is the expectation that this happens immediately? Then when do we get our witnesses? And just Mr. Albas's point, and are we interrupting any studies that may have been ongoing before? I'm actually not certain. I've heard different things. So are we doing this now, or are we finishing other things first?
Well, that's really up to the committee to decide.
Okay.
So we have next week is kind of scheduled. The following week is kind of open. So I would suggest that maybe amendment that the
Spirit,
parties
if we
provide a
commit.
witness list, additional witnesses by Wednesday next week, so that we have a chance to schedule them.
It's not very many days. That's
Can we just have
4 days.
To determine timing, but the motion is, it stands, and with that amendment, it allows for additional witnesses, and it's always done in relation to the parties, so that's kind of a given.
So we could, instead of dealing with the auto report on Tuesday, we could have a subcommittee meeting, I suppose. But, Mr. Shipley, go ahead.
Chair, you had mentioned earlier today that I believe next week you had Mr. Goodale coming for 1 hour, and the second hour you had nothing scheduled for. Maybe that's when that subcommittee could be had to finalize all these issues.
Well, I think that works really well. So that's really not part of this whole motion. Ms. Michaud? I'm willing to, I think that makes sense. I could try to work that in, but Ms. Michaud, please go.
Je veux juste m'assurer quand c'est.
I'm just trying to find out when would be the right time to discuss what study we'll be doing when. If we have a subcommittee next Thursday after the hour with Mr. Goodale, I think we'll be okay. I just want to propose that we finish what we have on the table before we start with that other study. Or do you think we should insert it in the motion? I will be ready to propose an amendment. But if we all agree that we finish with the 2 reports before we move on to that, that will be okay. I don't see the benefit of inserting it right now, but I just want to make sure that we all agree.
Ms. O'Connell?
I would just suggest with that point as well is that we should just schedule a subcommittee so subcommittee can determine the best slotting and what's realistic in terms of arranging witnesses. We have 13 or so with the additional witnesses. We could start planning, but have a subcommittee to properly plan out the previous studies that we want to complete and our calendar, but the clerk, if this passes, would have direction to start, and then it's not limited to, and then we can have a subcommittee next week.
Okay, so how about this? We vote on the motion as it currently stands, and I'll schedule a subcommittee meeting for the second hour next Thursday, and we'll move on from there. Okay? That's good? All right, so any further discussion?
Need to vote on the motion.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion as amended? No? Recorded vote? Can we have a recorded vote, please?
Ms. O'Connell,
Yes.
Ms. Damoff,
Yes?
Mr. Gay,
In favor?
Ms. Zaid,
Yes.
Mr. Fragiskatos,
Yes.
Ms. Dencho,
Yes.
Mr. Albas,
Yes.
Mr. Shipley,
Yes.
Mr. Lloyd,
Yes.
Madame Michaud,
En faveur.
Mr. McGregor.
Yes.
Yes pour 10, contre, nobody.
That is carried. Motion to adjourn is moved. All in favor? Carried. I think that was unanimous, that one, too. Thank you all.